So as you set foot on this vessel, having dropped off the loot and the remaining goods, having stared down the captain, who you know a little too well, what's the team doing at this point? They're in the process of loading the vessel up, and it does have multiple floors beyond the one you're on top. As mentioned, this boat's a little small, but that's because this is as much for the prettiness of the map. The actual vessel itself is considerably larger.
I think I have a note here saying that we were directed towards the cargo area.
Yep, dropping off your
Drop
goods.
stuff off. Yep.
And it's a vessel with multiple floors and a heck of a lot of cannons. Makes life a little bit easier that way for the bad guys when they have the ability to blow the snot out of anybody else on the water. I mean, after all, they're pirates and not like the ones from One Piece who believe in freedom and all that stuff. The bad guys, for sure.
Devaxian would probably be just make his way straight to the cargo area, out of the captain's line of sight. Because I think Devaxian had quite a decent conversation with him, so he's probably at risk of being spotted the most.
Oh yes, below decks. There's always plenty of people and there's always plenty going on. Definitely can drop off some cargo. Yep, definitely can get things moved around.
Then once the cargo's dropped off, I guess you'll keep an eye out, or no, not an ear out to see if you can overhear if people are taking, if they're talking about like powder storage for the cannons, because I think we spotted that they did have cannons. I think we're going to see if we could make them unable to fire on the town.
That's fair. Try to give a little bit more of a defense. Well, there's definitely cannons on the ship. That without a doubt. Lots and lots of them. This is a large vessel covered in weaponry. So you find yourself, at the moment, I have you placed on top deck, just so you can see this mighty ship before you. And like always, there's always a bunch of fun little spots and places on a vessel of this size, but loaded up with this many cannons, you know they're looking for trouble and probably able to find it. Now, I did mention there are multiple floors, and you're all going down to get to that cargo floor. And as you start making your way, John was here, he'd make fun of me for saying that, and you know it. You can see just how many cannons they've got across this mighty battleship. They have more cannons than people to fire them, you'd almost guess by the look of it. Before we come down and I dump you all in the basement area. And before you're thinking, really, that's all the cannons, we've got 3 floors. Well, no, that's actually not quite all the cannons. Because there's also the quarterdeck cabin at the back, which itself has tons of beds. And even more cannons, as you'd find out just from hearing people talking about sleeping by the cannons feeling a little sketchy. An aft castle cabin seems to be the only place without, which is well known for where the captain likes to relax. And of course the forecastle cabin, all of these accessible from that top floor. But since I slowly drug your minis across the battle map, you'll be able to make out these 3 floors even in the darkness where you can't presently see anything, as you're down in the cargo hold now. Walking by, you can also see a few of these oh so very friendly pirates. But you've got multiple floors, and you know up on top floor, there'd be even more of them to deal with. Glancing around, though, they've got lots of barrels of gunpowder and lots of cannons down here. But, as warned, there are a couple pirates. In fact, who wants to be the bearer of fate? Who wants to roll a dice for the Dungeon Master to determine how many pirates there are?
I'll do it. What do you want me to roll?
D12.
Okay.
That poor dice doesn't get enough love, so I'll say we'll roll it today.
Come on, I hit enter. There.
Oh, goodness. Jillian dusts her head and says, "What do you think of that, Mr. Dungeon Master?" Well, I'll tell you what I
I'm
think
sorry?
of that. You rolling 1 on your random encounter table for what's down on the bottom for the amount of enemies. Well, since there was actually a subtraction on that D-roll 12 and no minimum floor, you're all alone down here. There is no one else down on this low level. Yes! First roll of the game, and Jillian's like, "I'm gonna bomb this roll and ruin the plans." There are no plans, though. You are alone in the cargo hold of this pirate ship. I don't think, just in case, I'll toggle pause in case it was still showing for anybody, but feel free, move your minis around, do some exploring. What you see on this map is fairly accurate. I do like a big ship map after all.
Right. Seeing it the store around, and there's 3 stairs up. It looks like.
Oh, you can't see
Here.
tokens on the map. Should warn you. If you're not on your field of vision, you don't see tokens.
Yeah, no, it's just there's just confirming if there's 4 ways in and out of this level.
Yep.
Yep.
And even then, it's doubled up on the stairs for the way up and down. You know the different levels, if you can see for where my mouse is, goes down and up immediately. So there's always a bunch of ways to get up and down. Plus, as you wander around on this level, peering up, you can see grates that align with the other levels, slightly offset from where these torches are, above your own heads right now where you're at on the map, technically. Same down with this level, where you could see clean through to the areas above. Of course, standard practice. If you can get through these grates, it's easier to load cargo in from the top level. You can drop it all the way to the bottom like that. And beyond that, lots of barrels and lots of things covered up.
Is there evidence or signs of people recently being in these cells?
I want to say yes. Actually, I will say yes, for Kyle's character was going to be in one of these, right? You can see the remnants of what looks like someone who broke themselves free. You know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
But for the sake of actuality and plot, no. Nothing seems to stand out. They look, for the most part, unused. But it would have been a perfect place to plunk his character.
Is there this looks like the food stores. Is there like water barrels anywhere? Like a fresh water store?
There are many barrels. Some a little bit to the south east of where you presently are. You can inspect them to see what's inside of them. This ain't Curse of Strahd. It's not like a zombie's gonna jump out and try to get you.
That would be a hell of a twist if it did, though.
Oh god.
Sure. The vaccine will try and figure out what's in these barrels.
Alright, roll me a d6.
Jeez.
Oh, this is a fun day so far today. Well, As you look towards the barrels, you can even see a cork stopper in the bottom. You're thinking, oh, this is great! Definitely some water in these. And you grab and pop open that first barrel. And the smell that explodes into your character's nostrils is almost somewhat offensive. Death and decay. As you can see the remnants of someone having been stuffed into said barrel. Nothing remaining now but their rotten corpse inside of the horrible bile. I'd say roll a con save, but that's going overboard.
Is there any way I know that you kept my token on the upper map so everyone can see it, but is there a way I can see the other map?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right over here. You'll need to deselect your token, though, if you're
Oh.
selected on that one. If you do a highlight selection anywhere on the map except on your token, it'll remove it for you.
Okay.
I actually love that that's such a feature now. They
Oh,
put it when you
okay.
hover over
I
the
see.
select token option. It
Yeah.
should. Where's my videos?
It was all black,
Yep.
so I wasn't. But thankfully, I could see it because of your cursors.
We ping.
Oh, I can see it now. I already.
Oh, I just pinged because I
Okay,
wanted to
thank
ping.
you.
I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, fair enough.
Now, one thing I'll do while you're on per levels, I like to leave maps like this fully open so they don't obstruct your field of vision or your ability to walk. But one small thing I'm going to do. I'm going to make a mark on the masts so that they block your field of vision because, I mean, it's a little more fun that way. That way you can remember that they're there because you can hide behind them if need be. I mean, if you're going to pull something like that. Outside of that, fairly inconspicuous for what you're seeing. Besides, of course, a dead body inside of a barrel. It's up to you how close you want to have Devaxian looking at that.
Given that there was the mayor was dead for a while and seemingly replaced with an imposter, I think he has to look and see if he can figure out if this also looks like a townsperson that he's met before.
You can definitely roll a perception check as you examine the body. I mean, I really want to make you roll that con save now, but still it seems childish of me to do so. Your character doesn't retch as you lean over this horrible stench.
I just end up doing an impression of my mother. As soon as you start talking about something like mildly gross, like boogers or something, she just starts going, "What?
Oh, yep.
What?"
The natural response. With a 22 on perception, as Devaxian checks that one out. Looking them over, they seem to have been in there for quite a while. Weeks, maybe longer. It's hard to tell. They've definitely been long since expired. But what you find an extra little bit surprising is as you look down about halfway, what appears to be a mixture of whatever is left over from a body, plus pickling solution. Looks like they were tossed in here and left to die. You also notice in your offhand as you look towards the lid of this barrel that you unsealed and opened from top, which doesn't take much effort from the outside, looks to be a somewhat impossible task as you can't help but notice the claw marks on the underside of the lid.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, the other 5 barrels had water in them.
Yeah, I just find the unlucky one, the body.
They don't seem to be a townsperson you'd recognize or anything of the sort like that, though.
Yeah. Devaxian will let the party know. They seem to be a fan of drowning people in barrels, or leaving them to die in one at least. Yeah, they're not very hospitable people, I guess. Ugh.
Well, then I suppose even more motivation for us to not get caught.
Yeah.
Well, we could dump the barrels out, you know. That way, if they try to drown us in them, they can't.
I was thinking of using this water in here to soak some of the gunpowder barrels.
Oh, yeah. That's a great idea.
Do you crack open
Um,
another barrel?
Yeah. Although I have noticed a distinct um oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Mismatch in the number of water barrels to gunpowder barrels. I'm assuming that everything behind you guys is powder. Oh, that's a lot of powder. But we can at least soak some. I'd be tempted to say smash some apart so that they can't transport it easily. But then you have some loose gunpowder floating around the bottom of a ship that you're on, which is probably not something that you really want going on. Anyway, yep, the vaccine will open another barrel. And he said, "Please don't be a body. Please don't be a body."
Water. Nothing in there but crystal clear water. Stored and well kept, very fresh. Well, I
Yes,
say fresh, but I mean,
yeah.
probably full of gunk.
The real question, I suppose, is will the vaccine and Deacon be able to lift a barrel easily enough over to the powder barrels without making too much noise?
I think about 500 pounds, if memory serves. Google. 1 second. I'm gonna. 55-gallon drum holds 55 more than 55. 480 pounds for a water-filled barrel. With a quick Google. $159 kilograms. Water, wood is way more heavier. It's about 500 pounds. 500 pounds. I'm gonna say 500 pounds. I might be wrong. But for those, I'm saying an even 500 pounds to make life a little bit easier. I mean, that's if you're moving the whole barrel.
We could just use buckets. There'll be buckets somewhere here. It's a ship. There's got to be a bucket, and just like pour. As actually, does it look like there's a mechanism to pull the barrels up through one of those grates?
Not
Because
specifically from what you can see. If the ship has any form of crane, it doesn't seem overly available for standard usage. There's not really much on the top level. Probably goods would be lowered in while at dock, but they don't actually have any mechanism for going up and down between those levels of the cargo hold.
are they just? Well,
Also, does it look like this area has been recently tread? Like, have there been a lot of people coming and going through here?
Oh, you see shadows move overhead on those grates I previously mentioned as you hear footsteps. This area definitely looks as though it receives enough traffic in the run of a day. After all, many of the supplies that are being brought in are very freshly brought in. So it's definitely seen enough usage. But you've just gotten lucky. Thanks to a relatively low dice roll, your team happens to be the only group in here at the moment.
yeah, probably. Okay. For I guess it's good, maybe a question from Nestry or Phoenix, who maybe even Deacon, because you have a degree of crafting, and I know Phoenix has alchemical knowledge. Do we? Because it might be pointless doing this. How wet do we need to get a barrel of powder for it to be ineffective? Because like, I assume a barrel holds quite a lot of powder. So I think you're on mute, Jillian.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I said I could try running a check, but I'm not sure which would apply. Phoenix might have a better chance.
Because like, if we're seen try to like lift the barrel and pour it, then it's going to be hard to brush that off. If we're like pouring a bucket of water into a barrel, you could maybe hide that better. But like, I was just thinking maybe that's not enough to like just get it a little wet. It doesn't need to be like soaked. But I don't know enough about black powder to say for sure.
Daniel officially doesn't know. I'm looking it up on Google.
Huh? If you're looking to nullify the powder, it falls down to a question of a conversion on this one. Because certainly a degree of water would be needed to soak them out entirely. But if you've ever heard that old saying, fill the rock up with a whole bunch of stones and it filled the glass. But then I decided to put a whole bunch of smaller rocks. They fit in between the spaces. They fit in there. Glass is still full though. Then I poured sand in until it was full to the brim. But you know what I was able to fit in beyond that? A glass of red wine. Yeah. Which proves there's always room for wine. But, beyond that, pouring water in would be at a much smaller volume. But how much would you need? Well, most of us have already been goofed by that one. Though, this would definitely be a moment for recalling your character's knowledge on what sort of ratio, how much water you'd need to pour in to absolutely ruin a barrel of gunpowder. Now, I might lean on Arcana a little bit with that one. That would probably be a decent one. Same with crafting. Those would definitely be ones I look at. Dean's random bullshit, though, I'm not sure on that one. And what's up, Dan?
Alchemical lore. Would that work?
Alchemical lore totally works for a recall knowledge check on that one.
I have a +9 to Arcana and +8 to crafting. I could do an Arcana.
I'm wondering what's alchemical under? What would that give you? Shoot.
That's my crafting to like make bombs.
So that'd fall under your crafting knowledge check then, right?
Well, I have crafting, Arcana, and then alchemical lore as something separate.
Let me just peek at your alchemical lore for a moment. Because I'm pretty good with skills and all that, but when it comes to the base features, let's see here.
Is it under your lore skills?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could roll my esoteric lore with a -2.
Yep.
The only risk there is that it then uses the what's it called? Dubious knowledge, like it can include some false information if I roll
low. Is it dubious lore? I think that is. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many listed for that alchemical lore, because it would definitely work for it, which allows you to use the recall knowledge ability about your lore. So it'd be recall knowledge for alchemical. There we go. I kept trying to say arcana by mistake on that one. It's pretty much up to me what skill would apply at that one. But if it's your lore and you've mastered in crafting and you've done that, I just go with your strongest stat on them. You're either going to be able to use crafting or alchemy, or crafting, or oh god, too many splits and too much reading on too many new rules that I haven't applied yet. Your arcana or crafting, you'd be able to lean on either of those as part of your alchemical lore check. And since it's specifically up your character's alley for having a lore, I'd give you a +2 circumstance bonus on it.
I'd probably lean on the crafting because it's a +12 and an expert.
Uh-huh. Well, that's a little... Oh, we can run it. This reminds me of when you were talking about windmills earlier, and Jillian's like, that's randomly in my backstory. And I said, that's perfect. You know what I mean? Things like that are great when they work out. So, given that it's lore, and I may be improperly applying your lore skill, I think it just unlocks the ability to run it, but for now I'm saying you're getting a +2 on the roll. Because I do like the Foundry lets me have like my +2s and my -2s back to just make people's life painful or happy.
Now, do we want to just have, like, Phoenix roll it, or should I also roll?
Oh, you'd be going against each other on knowledge checks at that point. If one of you rolled low and one of you rolled high.
So would it be better for... Would it be better for me to just let Phoenix do it?
That's the eternal question.
It's up to you.
What do you think there, Dan?
In which
This also throws out an interesting question. Give me a second to figure out the bonuses.
Also, Alan, I know you said you wondered if you were using it wrong. I don't think so, because in the recall knowledge action it says, like, under crafting, if you're recalling knowledge about alchemical, like, crafting, the first thing it says is alchemical reactions.
Yeah.
Creatures. So it's like.
But I don't know if it would give the +2 bonus. It would just let you do a recall knowledge using your ability that would apply, which is up to the DM from what I'm seeing. So I gave a +2, but I don't know if I should have gave a +2. But on this one, I mean, it's not about to off-balance an entire combat situation, and Dan's got his skills going through the roof now with experts, so you know. But I do like how they list. There are so many on that list, too, like... And they're like, if you can think of anything else to put on there for lore, and I see accounting lore is on there, but I don't see insurance lore, so I'm a little cranky. Gonna make a character who has insurance lore. People be like, what the heck is insurance? And he's like, you know, has your town ever been trampled by a Tarask? Let me tell you. The kingdom will reimburse you for a partial cost of your home based off the equity.
And then, when he's feeling chaotic and evil, he walks in and, hi, I'm trying to reach you about your cart's extended warranty.
Oh, God. Tapping the fighter's sword. You know, I could get you a deal that would keep this sharper for much longer. It looks like it's starting to go dull from all these swings, you know. There's no guarantee you're going to swing your sword, but you might. And since that's, you know, it's not a gamble, it's a risk, well, we might be able to set you up. Every other player at your table would be like, go home halfway through the game.
And the best part would be you do this in the middle of combat. Not before combat, not after combat, but during combat. While the fighter is swinging the sword to hit the enemy, you walk up and go, we could get you a good deal on covering insurance to keep that sharper for longer.
Enemy's about to take a swing at you mid-combat. Be like, wait. Look, I can tell you, man. How's your benefits package? You come work for us. I can assure you. And probably some big bad evil lady. She pauses, takes a moment to think, and it's like, wait a second. You can get me security on my goods and my gains I've got over here in my treasure hoard? Yes! We can totally insure that to value. Oh. The dungeon master's just flipping through their notes like, what are you even doing? It's like, I rolled 20 on my charisma. This is happening. Oh god, a bard insurance agent. And I named them after that character from, Groundhog Day. The loop didn't break until he bought insurance. That's right.
Oh, I've never seen Groundhog Day.
This isn't a good movie, but it's a little dated now just because it's older.
Oh yeah. I have nothing against it. It's just one of those ones that you're like, oh yeah, I should catch up on that, and it just every year just slips by.
You gotta wonder how many times he repeated the day. Like, how old was he in the end? How much has he seen? He'd feel like a god by the end of that stuff. Like, my favorite's the scene. He's sitting there and he's watching Jeopardy and he's saying the answers repeatedly. Then he pauses and he looks towards someone who looks flabbergasted. Trebek is just saying, and today's clue, and he slowly just says the answer before you even see it on the screen or it's spoken, and the other person is shook. I'm like, that's the thing. That's what we would do. Oh god, well, I'm off topic. As mentioned, Dan, you've got to roll with a +2 on that crafting check. Jillian, you can certainly make a crafting check as well. If both of you ace it, you're both going to come to a similar conclusion. If not, the conclusions may differentiate between the characters, so it's a risk either way. But this is always the case with any of these rolls.
As long as everyone's alright with it. Would it be okay if I rolled Arcana, or would you prefer crafting?
Oh, you can
So
roll
Arcana's
Arcana.
got... Okay.
All the random interactions with Arcana, I'd let a roll for that one go.
Ooh, that's not great.
The Phoenix is convinced that it would be at a ratio of 1 to 12 barrels. Nestri, however, is convinced that you'd need 1 barrel for 2. So Phoenix believes a 1 in 12 mixture, while Nestri believes a 1 to 2 mixture would be enough to neutralize the gunpowder. Phoenix coming at it from an angle of, look, I know this quality, it's really poor, it's really bad. And Nestri saying, I've seen Fireball. They use a mixture similar, we gotta douse it all.
I can't imagine I'd be digging my heels in about it.
It's just you're both on an opposite side of an opinion at the moment.
Yeah.
Because I love how Foundry says, if they get it wrong, they get wrong info. It's like, ooh, well, that's a 12. Which is killing me, because what was your dice roll on that? A 3? A 3. God.
Yeah.
Now you know the honest truth is the team sitting here thinking, how can we agree with Dan?
Well, I would... The optimist part of me would like to go with the plan that lets us soak more barrels.
Well,
Hope
give me
that
a
it
perception
works.
check.
Perception check.
Yep. As your character examines the area mentioning that, I want to go with the plan that soaks more barrels, and da-da-da-da.
Right, here we go. Okay.
With a 21 on your perception check, you know you'd need at least a 1 to 8 mixdown to be able to spread this water across everything. With a 2 to 1, you wouldn't be able to cover nearly all the barrels. Maybe about half of them. But with a stronger mixdown, you'd be able to get a lot more. Someone's going to bring up the fractional math on that and be like, dude, you're way off, but come on, cut me some slack. It's on the fly. Essentially, if you go with Nestri's plan, you can't cover all the barrels. You go with the plan of Phoenix. You definitely can cover all the barrels, but his uses less water. I've given
I'll
the
be
team
honest.
decision paralysis.
I'm not sure how to resolve this in character. It's very. I don't know why in my head. I think because you can see the meta numbers, and it's
Yep.
just like, how do I translate this?
I mean, I think we would know that Phoenix has experience with alchemy, right? So
The truth
he'd be more
is,
likely.
if you wanted to try, but keep in mind, it can go either way if the dice are against you. Other people can make a knowledge check as well to see what they think for the mix-up. Because as of now, Nestri would be thinking... Nestri would also be leaning, Phoenix is a bit of a pro with this sort of stuff, though. They can craft like there's no tomorrow. You're coming from a magical point of view and hesitation. Admittedly, your character could throw the gauntlet over to Phoenix. I'm not too concerned with how that one could go. Or if somebody wants to roll another knowledge check and possibly make the situation worse.
Well, if Phoenix is approaching it from a scientific method using alchemy, and Nestri is approaching it from like an arcane point of view, like a spell component, you know that magic is fading from this world, and we're the only ones who can cast it. So wouldn't it make more sense that they're to stick to the scientific approach with alchemy, because that's what they would be using?
Like in reality, I'd just be like, yeah, like if it was my opinion versus Dan's opinion in the real world, I would say, and I'm probably wrong.
The honest truth here as well, you'd have these characters sitting around and Nestor be like, I think about to get a 2-to-1 on this, and then you'd have Phoenix speaking up. Actually, judging by the composition of the makeup of the soil and the structure of this exact form of gunpowder, it being a little bit of a weaker for a stronger shot, a very small amount will be able to conceal everything through, so I'd say about a 12-to-1 mix-down ratio would cover the... At that point, if you're listening, you'd just be like, well, smart guy, let's go with your plan. Let's hope it doesn't fail.
Yeah. Yeah.
On this one, because the entire team is leaning on Dan, and I think they do so anyway off the dice rolls. Dan, you've got that magic with dice rolls. I'm willing to let you go with his opinion with not worrying too much on the meta on that one. Because you've made a good point. Magic has faded. Maybe that's a good enough excuse. Unless Jameson has something up their sleeve to sway things.
Well, if you want me to speak up and sway things, I have the recipes right here for 3 separate bombs, so... You know, comparing that to this to that.
Ooh.
There you go.
Yep, you make a fantastic point.
So Nestri's saying, from what I've seen in my anecdotal experience, and Phoenix is like, look, I got the paperwork right here. And Nestri be like, I'm used to blowing things up with spells. I trust you. Because Gillian has said as such, you know. Like I say, I'm not going to push on that one, but you know what, Dan? I like your train of thought on that, saying, look, I got the examples with bombs right here. So for that one, I'm going to give you the thumbs up and say, okay, I'm going to give the whole team a hero point. Because you all resisted the urge to go super meta on that one, even though you totally could have.
Hey.
Well, I mean, if Nestri is me, I would immediately shrink when questioned, so probably apologize. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to tell you.
Oh goodness.
Oh,
Although
speaking
that's
of hero points, is the quick aside. Apparently, Paizo have went back on their changes to the dying rule.
Oh, it doesn't give you a fail now on... It doesn't give you the wounded anymore on fails?
Yeah.
Okay, good, because that was overkill. Like, we even jokingly said at the end of the last session, oh, ha, 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 if they put it on while you're dying, then you're ruined. It's not in there. That's not too bad. Because we've been doing it correct all along. We've been hard on ourselves. But that would be suicidal. Like, man.
Yeah, just when I saw the hero points there, like I hadn't updated my sheet, so I had none. I was like, oh, I'd be dead. But yeah, no, they decided to go with the way the community was doing it for the most part.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's like, go and die.
It's
die real bad.
I like how we're running it the official way, that if you're down, and you take damage, you're pretty much done. Your wounded condition is going to blow through the roof. And if you fail your check, you just go up a point. And when you go down again for a second time, you go down plus your wounded condition. So going down more than twice, it's game over. Pathfinder really focuses on if your heroes start dropping, you need to retreat. And I really appreciate that, because in 5th edition, it's when your heroes go down, you need to stand and hold the line. It becomes a heroic moment repeatedly in 5e that you just can't die. But I really like the way it runs in this one. But that, yeah, man, like that made me poop myself a little bit when I saw it was, oh, yeah, no, if you fail a save, you roll also and put the fail on too. It's like, so, if you go down and fail, you die.
And apparently there's massive damage rules.
Oh, yeah.
If you take twice your hit point maximum, you die.
The old over 50 thing that they used to do.
Yeah. So, and I think like at level 1 and 2, they're like,
oh, and it's
treat your character as having
isn't it half your health? 50 point minimum damage, half your health for the insta kill.
I need to look up the wording, but I think it was like double your HP.
Oh, right. I'm thinking of the optional halfsies. If you ever hit for half of your total health, it's a 15 DC fort save, or you die. So if you've got 50 health and get hit for 25, DC 15 fort save, or game over. I think that was also one of the massive damage rules. Yours is, if you take double your max health and damage, you die. And that kind of makes sense. I think that's in 5th edition too as well.
Yeah, and like, so it just bypasses the whole dying condition to you just immediately dead. You are dying, dead.
Big bad evil guy walks up. I've been charging this attack for 2 days, hits you with it. You take 753 damage. Character's done. Next player brings you back to life. Third player's turn, hits the bad guy, almost kills him. Bad guy's turn, hits you for 1 point. They're like, what? It's like, I'm a one-trick pony. Bring it on. Oh, gosh. That does bring an interesting question, though. Given the rules and changes to magic in this world, what will happen if one of you dies and then is brought back to life? An experience no one's probably looking forward towards, but we've come close once or twice. So, on the subject of actually watering up those barrels, that's a process that's going to take time, and as you know, those grates above your head, they line up with specific positions on the map. I'm just going to make a couple quick red squares overhead. As you can see, it's very hard to be out of sight right now of the enemies. So if you were going to be taking water barrels and applying it across all of their supplies down here, well, that's going to take some time and might take a stealthy hand, unless somebody has a trick up their sleeve. I always say that as if I know what your trick is going to be, but it's mostly as an extra add-on moment, you know?
I mean, I'm pretty good with thievery, but after that atrocious roll last time, I'm a little bit hesitant to offer up my skills.
The dice are not your friend. Worked great for your first roll, though.
I've got a plus 10 to thievery.
Could you imagine trying to do all these things down here with pirates in the way?
Yeah, the entry's probably the stealthiest out of all of us. I got a plus 7, but I might be a better place if like I go up the stairs and if I see anyone looking down, maybe I can like try and distract them.
You are the charisma guy.
Hello, Brian. How are you?
Just squints their eyes. Brian's my brother. I'm Greg. I don't like being mixed up for him. And you just be like, yes! Right there, you win. Oh, God. That's what happens when you roll like 20 on those checks, you know? The world bends just a little bit. Now, you can definitely try your way with some sleight of hand action, as it would say. You know, using your thievery ability. I say sleight of hand because I just can't get around that wording. It's such good wording from 5e. But you can definitely use your thievery to that regard. Normally you'd be trying to palm an object or steal something, but this falls into the disable a device sort of side working, you know. Head over with a scoop of water, pour it in. Meanwhile, you've got Phoenix like perfectly leveling and measuring it out into a bucket and passing it to you like, okay, here's another 12th. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I'm sticking with that number. It's just too nice.
Should I roll then, folks?
But you will also be in clear view of the targets above your head. So I'm also going to need a stealth roll.
Can I go to the floor above and see if I can, if needs be, make a distraction?
Can you split the party? Of course you can.
8.
So I'm rolling a new character now because the party is split.
Oh, God. Well, at the moment, Dan, you've got one of the rare moments of insta-pass. Due to your high check, you have no trouble measuring out that 12th of water, getting a perfect amount every single time. So you can definitely set Nestri up for getting her good to go. This does leave Deacon completely free as well. Now, I've popped Devaxian up on the next floor. We'll get to how that works in a minute, because, yeah, as you can see, there's lots of pirates up there walking around at all times. And one glance down through the grate, and, well, your goose is cooked. Assuming Nestri rolls bad on stealth. Jillian, please don't let me jinx you. You've got 2 hero points.
Stealth first and then thievery?
You can do your stealth for walking around and thievery for the attempted disable. 2 separate actions.
Okay. Okay.
So as everyone's
Nice.
looking up like, alright, we see Devaxian going. But where
I think
Nestri
Deacon would join Devaxian up there, so he's not completely alone in case things go south.
Alright. Now I've popped you both up in the middle, because that's closer to where the action's going to be. Because that's the top end stairs. You could drop down to the bottom ones, but essentially, I just slapped you on the next level as Phoenix and Nestri work together on this one. Phoenix holds over the bucket at one point looking for Nestri. He's like, where in the... Right here. What the shit? How did you... You know? Which for Dan might be just a little bit strange. He was normally the stealthy one. How the tables have turned. Or look at the turntables, to quote Trevor Bad Boys.
There you go. There's the office quote.
Oh, it's an office too? I love it. Sorry, that I was kind
It's
of...
well, how the turntables.
Ooh. I don't think I'm that far yet. I'll get there. I'm loving the series. It's a background watch for sure, but oh god. So many episodes. Loving them though. Such a mixed bag. So now, I'm gonna need that thievery check from Nestri.
Alright. Any circumstance bonus? Because I rolled so good at stealth.
Nope. This is
Forget-
all up to whatever you can pull and whatever you can add on yourself. But
Okay.
while you're doing that roll and while you're contemplating what you can do, as Devaxian and Deacon make their way up to the top, if you're going to provide that itty-bitty bit of distraction, well, how are you planning on providing distraction? You can always
I mean,
jump up there with a deception check, of course, and run on your charisma. You can go and actually talk to someone. That might be something more along the lines of diplomacy for charisma as well, if you're talking for the charisma checks. Of course, intimidation can't be left out if you're talking and charisma checks, but that might not go over well.
I did already roll.
Oh yeah, I see your roll, don't worry.
Oh, okay, sorry.
You bombed it with a, or you aced it with a 28. I say bomb as in you blew it up. You know what I mean. It's like Dan scooping out a bucket of water with Phoenix, and he goes, okay, and it's gone. And he's like, where the... And another one's gone, and another one's gone. You're like, how is this? Nestri just sits down beside you, pulls out a glass of wine like, we're good, don't worry. But can the eyes from above stay off the party? Unless you have a different method for distracting them, of course.
So the vaccine would go and approach someone who looks to be like more in charge, like keeping an eye on things. Like they would probably be less likely to, basically someone who doesn't really have a job just now. Who
Alright,
might have like wandering eyes.
this lady down here with a map that you can clearly see sprawled out on the table, with, as well, a raven perched on her shoulder. You were thinking it was going to be a parrot. She even has a sextant nearby that she's using to measure distance on the map and a few other notes that she's making, and she seems to be scribbling on. Everyone else seems to be getting busy with busy work, and every once in the blue she'll shoot someone a glare, and damn do they get back to work, even if it's just something basic like polishing the cannons, which I am going to say this poor guy over here is stuck doing at the moment. She gives him that side glare, she jumps to his feet, gives the salute, and he's back to scrubbing.
Fergus, can you chill, please? Sorry, I thought I was on mute.
Oh, no worries.
I think those people are next door, so you can probably hear them. That's what set them off.
Fergus bouncing
anyway.
around. I want to play.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess
Also,
he'll go.
as mentioned, since I like this map to be a bit open, you'll notice I didn't block this back section or this front section off, but there are actually doors here and there are actually walls here. Just more areas with more cannons and more storage. The map looks pretty pretty.
I was looking at the animal pens, and what I think looks to be the ship, the doctor's room.
You'd hope they have one.
Yeah.
They are pirates. It might be. Oh, you're sick? Into the pickling barrel. Rough, gruff, and tough, walking around with puffed out chests where they can and slightly angry looks on their face, giving each other those shoves as they go. But one sits comfortably at a table, making her notes. Devaxian's approached, and Deacon. Jameson, what's your character pulling? As you see, Devaxian walking right up towards that table, just sauntering his way over. I want to say he has an eye patch on just to add to the disguise, but you know.
Oh yeah, I'll add to that disguise. And everyone's kind of just cleaning stuff up, essentially, I assume.
Taking care of generic busy work. You always see them being active, or at least standing around with arms folded looking a little tough.
Is there anything to clean near the grate above them?
Oh, definitely. In fact, as your character is walking around looking at the floor, checking, seeing anything that can be done, one pirate, she steps over towards your character, grabs you by the shoulder, and says, "You there? What the hell are you doing?"
I just delivered some supplies down to the storage down below, and I was looking for more work to do.
She gives a nod and gives you a shove with it. Well, set that to work with you then. And she tosses you a mop. Points at the floor and says, "I want to see my goddamn reflection in here. I want to see these eyes. You hear me? Get to work." She gives the nod and marches a few steps forward.
And what Deacon is going to do is he's going to essentially stand over top that grate and swab the floors all surrounding that grate, standing on top of it as long as he can.
As you're looking down, you can see at one point Nestri popping open one and pouring a little water on top, closing maybe even a thumbs up between the two of you. As another older pirate walks up, looks you dead in the eyes, looks down at the grate. Nestri might even be looking up and catch them by the eyes. He looks right back up at you and nods and says, "Nah, that's some good work. You keep at it," and walks off. And the question is, how good was your work? Give me that deception check.
Fuck.
With a 12 on that roll.
You have -1!
Deacon's just hoping with a 12 on that roll that other pirate who walked away after saying good job isn't going to cause trouble. But we'll switch over to Devaxian now since we got a lot of rolls going, and since Jillian has got the panic on, she's like, "I did my job, I did my rolls great, I know I'm kicking butt, but what about those upstairs?" Well, Devaxian is approached. The map lady, I'll call her at this point because, well, they're pirates. And she's doing some measuring across the coastline. As you can see, she's drawing a path heading down around south through treacherous waters, but seems to know what she's doing well enough. A nice cartographer. Of course, your character's approach causes her hands to begin to slow in their actions. You can see the two tips of the needled tool in her hands slowing their motion, the look on her face drooping, brow dropping as she slowly lifts her eyes up towards your character. A look somewhat of anger and a little bit of indifference there, and you can hear fingers drumming on the table as she sensed your approach before you even had time to introduce. So, Dean, what you doing?
Excuse me, I was wondering how much space we need to leave free down there for the incoming cargo from tonight's raid.
She's giving a slow drum with her fingers, slants her eyes a bit at you and adds in, "You've been advised. Everything that we need loaded in off the shore is coming in, every single last bit of it. We've got more than enough room in the cargo down below, and if we don't, well, it wouldn't take too much effort to get rid of a few people through a nice solid keel hauling. If you understand. Of course, though, as you're chatting it up with her, you're going to want to give me that same deception check as you're trying to distract her with jibber jabber. Of course, diplomacy might also work because you're not technically lying at this point. Poor Deacon was put on spot a moment ago because I made him roll deception, but if you want to try and use the silver tongue, either one of those as you're chatting her up.
You know what? They're both the same modifier, but I'll try for diplomacy. Just because I like the idea of this weird ex-cultist being oddly charming. Alright, here goes. Fingers crossed.
But 19 on the roll, 28 total. She's still giving you the glare. She still looks quite angry. But you get that might just be the personality that she carries. After all, pirates, right? You get away with being sourly on this area, and honestly, she looks like she could probably kick some ass or two. But the raven on her shoulder just peers at you intently with a level of degree of anger that you've not quite seen, except for when you pissed off a crow one time, because you know, crows are like magpies, they just don't forget and they attack.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. I feel like I want to ask a question about that raven, but I'm sure it's not a question to her, but like in my head going, is this a freaking magic raven? But magic doesn't really exist, so probably just a wild conspiracy theory.
The raven does go, "Rock!" as you're thinking that, though, and just keeps the glare on you. You can't help but wonder.
I wonder if it knows that I'm not part of the crew.
Well, as you're sitting there wondering, and slightly annoying her, because you can see she doesn't like people. Can't blame her, she's a pirate.
Yeah, it'll be the kind of questioning that's just relevant enough to
And her
warrant an
responses,
answer.
very short, very to the point, very quick, cut sentence down sort of things, you know? She might even reply a few times, "Why did we get you on board if you don't know?" And you'd be like, "Oh, you know." Nestri gets full view of this from down below, though, hearing this flubbered conversation, and there's nothing wrong with a flubbered conversation. That was your goal. You managed to provide some distraction, and between yourself and Deacon, the pirates seem to take more notice of the two of you on deck, causing issues than anything happening below. And it's not long before Phoenix and Nestri have finished their devious plans, soaking and ruining so many barrels of gunpowder. Because as you can see, they have a lot of pieces of firepower on this vessel. But congratulations. Doesn't look like anyone's coming down or bugging you at the moment. And it doesn't look like anyone is stopping Deacon from doing some mopping. Though, eventually, the pirate who's been polishing on the cannon does come by and put a hand on Devaxian's shoulder to lean in and just whisper, "If you don't want to be keel-hauled, cut up your conversation short, bud." Then moves back to the same another cannon, continuing to polish as they're back on one knee. A slight comment given so that she goes unseen. And just for the record, in case somebody doesn't know, everybody know what it means to be keel-hauled on a boat?
Yes.
And on a 200-foot boat
Yep.
like this beast, could you imagine? You're not coming out of that alive.
Outlook would be grim.
Oh, the barnacles on your back. Ow, ow, ow. Ugh. Even then, they can only scrape so fast. It would take you a couple turns to get from one side to the other, pulling by rope, maybe 30 feet a turn. Yeah. You survive that, you'd be hero, legend, all that sort of stuff. But then they just do it to you again because they're like, well, they're too strong. We can't just let them walk around on our boat.
They won't forgive this.
Oh, goodness. You survive a second going, they're like, what the heck? You're like a barbarian. It's like 4 more times. Come on. Well, congratulations to the team below deck. It would seem as though you've successfully neutralized their gunpowder. Question is, what's next for the team, having put a major dampening on their offensive capacity?
Good question.
Well,
That interesting point where I don't know enough about ships to to really have a confident answer.
where the team are debating what happens next and what they're gonna do, I can lean in on the last player I'm gonna throw some rolls at. Dan, give me a perception check during all of this with Phoenix. Your character forced to do the mechanical work because you aced that check earlier. Oh, I got a little extra bonus for you if you ace this perception check. Oh, I thought it was going to be a 3. We all saw the same dice roll. I thought it was going to be a 3. Anybody else thinking that? Like, I was clapping. That was hovering. 25 as you ace that perception check with a blasted 19. My God, man, you can't do much better. As you're examining and moving boxes and stuff around, you notice something that catches your eye. Sliding said box to the side, you can see carved in down here at the belly of the ship a single plaque commemorating the launch of this mighty vessel. And I'm sticking with the name Lamprey's Kiss in honor of the person who made that map because it was really pretty. But you can see that this was a royal vessel inside of a mighty navy that once called home to the city of Blackrock. Of course, all things are connected. So this was probably a navy vessel that they stole and converted because, you know, pirates.
Nice.
There's multiple layers with this ship and multiple spots and places inside. Plus top layer where they like to sleep and the captain's chamber themselves, but getting into there might be a little bit tricky.
I had a couple of ideas. I'll float by you guys. Just taking a quick scan about the map. It's a little bit meta, but it would make sense, I think, to come to some of these conclusions. This is during the day and the attack's going to take place at night. So presumably there will be some kind of meal that the crew will have. So we could try and either with Phoenix's alchemical knowledge or by having a look round the like medic's room, see if we can find some kind of poison or toxin to lace the ship's meal with and see if we make them, I don't know, have violent diarrhea or something. Maybe Deacon and Tabaxian have heard the animal sounds. Maybe we could see if we could
No.
mess with some of those locks on the cages so that mid-battle with like the sounds of the cannons, maybe they'll freak out and start running amok over the deck.
Adding a little bit of notes. Up here, you'd see, this would be where you'd find some food, because this is where they do their cooking. Floor down where half of you are right now, you'd find the medical office up this way, of course. As for the livestock, yep. They got pigs, they got sheep, they got cows, they got chicks, they got all livestock. That fooled you, it's all pig iron. If anybody gets the song I just referenced from a very, very long time ago, you get a hat tip. But there's definitely some livestock up that way. Smaller livestock. They wouldn't be carrying any major cattle, mind you, but in themselves, pigs and goats are going to be enough of a pain in the butt to deal with if they get freed and lash out.
Yeah. And then, so that's a couple of options I can see from like this middle deck. We could try doing something like that. And then, I guess there'd be like an armory or something. We could see if we could. I mean, I don't. That's probably guarded.
The bottom
right
layer's
well,
here.
so
One's got weaponry on one side, of course, and a forge on the other for working with it, as you can see. Mind you, most likely well guarded for sure.
yeah. So maybe like if we luck out in those other two things, if we even try it in the first place, we could try, I don't know, even just busting the lock people's doors. I assume they're locked, just to make them harder to get to in the fight. They'll probably notice that earlier and just bring the door down. But
On a relatively important question, though, after completing this and working on this, where does the team meet back up? Because you are still split across 2 floors, and the clock goes tick, tick, tick in the background.
probably try and pick something relatively bulky up and make a point of walking past Deacon, like if he watches me carry it down back into the cargo hold. A pile of rags or something, a box of stuff. We'd probably try and meet back down there, just make it look like I'm carrying something, or we both carry something down.
I also just noticed on this map they messed up the stair placement. These should be up here. It's a very small complaint to make. Same with the bottom ones. They should be up a level on those stairs. Not exactly where they're at. Well, does Deacon follow along a few steps behind Devaxian?
Well, here's the thing. I think Deacon would have noticed that his performance was pretty piss poor, convincing, like, in terms of cleaning, so I think as Devaxian would be walking past him, he'd kind of shake his head a bit, and he would kind of continue cleaning to try and sell the performance a little bit more, and maybe at the very least mop a little bit around the stairs now, to at least, you know, gauge and see if anyone's going down there, and maybe stop anyone from going down there when everyone's,
well,
you know, planning.
With a really advantageous view as well from up there. You can see your allies down below as they're all meeting up and talking. You can see people up above relatively giving you a bit of a fair bit of room. After all, you're presently in a point where people don't need to come over to help you with it because they're pirates. They're not nice people. You're taking care of the mopping on your own, and it seems people staying away from this spot. So you are definitely in enough on the conversation to hear what they're saying down below. So even though the party's separated, you're kinda not, because Jameson's character is only about 10 feet overhead right here. If he was a bad guy, you'd be like, we can't talk around him right now, he'll hear the conversation. But he's a good guy. But you've all regrouped, so what's the plan?
So I guess I would float those ideas to the party and see what you guys think of them. Or, like, if you guys have any ideas, would be cool. I mean, oh, excuse me. The I do like the sound of the sound of the chaos that might ensue if we bust those livestock pens up enough so that the first like relatively loud bang or something of the battle they freak out and go, it's go time, and just start running around.
Well, Dean, it sounds like your two options have left the team slightly with decision paralysis. So I'm going to throw a monkey wrench in the way. Everyone roll me a perception check. Jameson, your character gets a +2 for Debaxian's roll on that one.
Mm.
Hooray!
Situational bonus. $25, a 17. Oh wait, that was a few minutes ago. 17, 24, and 19. For those of you down below deck. As you feel something strange, offset, shaking a bit. Phoenix, however, comes to the same conclusion that Deacon reaches without any issue. Because man, you rolled a nat 20 when you had a bonus 2 on it too. Deacon just needs to look up a little bit as you look out one of those holes that the cannons, which are being pulled back and they're being closed up at that time because, you know, they're taking off. They don't leave cannons on open display. Water gets in. But you can see land beginning to move away, and Phoenix can feel the ship shifting beneath their feet just enough that you all know, without shadow of a doubt, the ship has left port.
Retro.
Well,
So-
I suppose we're locked in now.
And this makes a perfect little spot for us to take a quick 10-minute break. Since, you know, we're well past the midway point, but we were a little late jumping in today as we made some Christmas plans. You know, good times. But we'll take a quick 10-minute break. I'll pause the recording here for a sec. And when we left off before we went to break, you were all debating some way to sabotage this ship. When the ship itself started moving, you were warned it was coming in the evening, and it's already 6:30 p.m. Night is beginning to creep in, and you can hear plenty of footsteps overhead, as the ship is now quite thoroughly filled with pirates.
Alright, if it's 6:30 p.m. then it might be too late to sabotage the food. But does anyone else have any thoughts on what to do? You're on mute, Jelly, and I can hear you.
What
echo.
was your plan again? We could go over it and see.
Oh, I was looking around the map. I just saw there was like a surgeon's room and an animal pen. And the two thoughts
Right.
that come to mind was to see if we can get something from the surgeon's room and poison the ship's meal and see if we could make them ill for the fight, or we get into the animal pens and like bust up the locks and doors enough so that when there's like the commotion of battle kicks off, they like might go a bit wild because they're scared and like break out and cause some chaos.
Right. I definitely remember the Brittany plan.
The Brittany plan.
Yeah. The other one I may have missed because of Fergus. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, my only other thing is to like quietly go around and like like quietly kill people. But that's easy for me to say because I've got decent stealth. Like just slowly pick people off and like hide them.
Like Assassin's Creed style, just
Yeah, a little bit. Like trying to do stealth mode. But like I said, it's easy for me to say because I've got decent stealth. I think I'm the only. Well, actually, I don't know what the spellcasters have, but like isolating people and killing them.
Yeah, I mean that's an option as well.
Oh, that was supposed to be
need to start-
animated.
My character can't exactly say anything, but with everything being focused above deck at the moment, if we were to put a hole in the bottom of the ship right now, they might not see it until it's too late.
Then what do we do?
Fair point.
Yeah, because if we, if we were to then try and get on like a lifeboat or something, they'd be like, "What are you doing? Where you going? Why you need that?" No reason. Don't worry about it.
I will remind you,
What?
they're presently en route to lay siege to the town. And in order to do that, they're going to have to, I don't know, arm the cannons. And where's all the fuel for the cannons? Footsteps. You can hear them overhead, beginning to clatter a little bit more. Time, it would seem, is no longer on your sides.
Yeah, we might want to not be here when they open those barrels up. I imagine they would blame us. Yeah, maybe if we get into like the lower gun deck, so that they don't see us when we're coming down, and we just head off to one of the side rooms or something. But it could be that I mean, there is a guy in the animal pen. Like, if you wanted to assassinate someone, we could just like do him in, throw him out the cannon port. The probably chances are nobody would notice that, and then that way, if we're messing around there, we can just be like, "Oh, we got here and he was gone, so we started trying to help." Same for like the surgeon. Like if we went in there, but I'm not sure, like in game terms for Pathfinder, like what, like it's probably just like DM's call, like how loud something is, or how quiet it goes down.
Well, that sounds like some stealth checks for any of that sort of stuff. Now, as this is happening, as this ship is heading out to water, Jameson's probably noticed what I've done on his floor.
Oh boy, that's a lot of pirates.
Whole team's turning off their vision to see what Jameson's character sees through Deacon's eyes, and yeah, there's a whole lot of pirates. Many of them moving towards cannons, beginning to polish them, get them ready, adjusting them. Because, you know, I'm going to move a few of them on this map just to get them closer to some of the cannons.
Yo, Jeebus. Yeah.
Deacon's going to furiously mob, trying to make his cover seem even more convincing.
And as you are mopping, you feel a firm hand pop on your shoulder, looking over. A monkey screaming in your character's face, which gets picked up by the other hand. Moves around to the opposite shoulder as he pats it on top of the head and he says, "Calm down, Greg, it is okay." As he looks towards you and says, "What are you doing here?"
I was told by a very intimidating lady to mop, and that is what I am doing.
And he gives a whistle and he points towards the stairs with his opposite hand. The stairs leading up as he says, "Yeah, no, get gone. We don't need any more help down here on this floor. They need more people on the cannons up a level. So you get out of here. Get to the upper gun deck. Put yourself to use."
I say, trying to make myself sound nervously loud. Yeah, I'll be going upstairs then. Sir.
"Wonderful," he says with a nod, and you see he points at a few other people, and you can hear steps coming down those as Deacon himself moves towards them. As more pirates are making their way down the steps. In a group, in fact, a bit more clustered, as this one points and says, "And you lot, go get that gunpowder. We gotta start moving and getting these cannons ready."
We should really move. If we hear the sound of a wet mop stopping,
Oh, you
just
can
go
hear
up the stairs.
this whole conversation above your heads thanks to Deacon being a little extra loud. Deacon, however, I'm going to toss you up to the next level, Jameson, if that's all good by you.
Yep.
As your character is truly separated out from the party now, making it up with more pirates moving towards more guns as they're laughing, shifting, moving, getting ready for all-out warfare. One beside you gives you a shove like, "Get to work," and points you towards your own cannon.
Okay, so,
Some of you may have originally been thinking, how are we going to sneak in among pirates? Just how many are there? And then you see the ship with all the cannons, and it's, oh, needle in a haystack. Gotcha. Well, what's up? Sounds like you had a plan there, Jameson, for a second.
well, would it be possible to sneakily sabotage my own cannon?
Oh, pull the fuse out a little bit further, and it'll never hit the grain. So it wouldn't fire for one run. If you're looking to permanently sabotage the cannon, however, that would take a crafting check to disable the sealing mechanism on the back so the back would blow off should it actually be fired properly. That's about as fair of a way I could think of to disable a cannon. If anybody has a better idea, let me know. But you know.
What you could do is that cannons have like mooring ropes so that they slide back so far they get caught on a rope and get pulled back into position. If you were to damage the anchor or the bit where the rope's attached, when it fires, it'll rocket back into the opposite cannon and cause a good amount of chaos. Probably.
Definitely an option as well. Basically remove the recoil compensation on the cannon and make some real hell for everybody on there. Now, the cannon would still be fully functional and operational if somebody put it back in, and if it survives the smash, mind you. But if you wanted, that would definitely cause some chaos should this one get fired. So what do you think, Jameson? How you want to run this? Disable the cannon or booby trap the cannon?
I think I'm going to booby trap my own cannon.
All
God.
right. Give me a crafting check. As you lean in and start wrapping hands around and adjusting ropes and pulleys, in order to make sure that the mooring anchor won't do much of any anchoring job.
This is when the cannon becomes the ball.
You give a slow nod as you dust your hands. Oh, Dan, that's funny. Now, I'm going to put a red box around this one because you know without shadow of a doubt, you just clipped the mooring wire. No trouble whatsoever. You don't even see the anchor shifting as you loop it back around and tie it in place so it doesn't drop. But that cannon, should it fire, well, Not much holding it in place. That's a rocket at this point. You've weaponized it in a whole different manner than intended. Now, while Deacon is doing this, mind you, we're going to focus back on the other three, because you know people are coming down those stairs. Now, technically, we're like 15, 20 seconds in the past here, because presently your friend's walking up the stairs, but you know a bunch of people are coming down to get gunpowder to start loading these cannons.
Probably going to walk, just go to the stairs that are like furthest away from the powder and just go up them, in the hopes that they would probably use the stairs closer to the powder.
Grab some cannonballs or some powder yourself so it looks like you're actually trying to help.
That's why Dan plays the high intelligence characters.
Oh,
He says, grabbing a cannonball and putting it in my hands.
as the vaccines go, and he built it up them stairs. But you've got Phoenix holding like 2 or 3 cannonballs in their arms, like, dude, you gonna get caught. So I'd definitely give you a good nod for that one, Dan. You get a hero point for that, because indeed, going up empty-handed would not have looked very good right now.
Yep.
Maybe it would have looked really good, made you look like good characters, in which they attack you because they're evil pirates. Ah. So, Nest rejoining suit. What are you gonna take up?
What else would be lugged up? Like
Cannonballs
the
and
cannonballs
gunpowder.
are being lugged. Oh god, I don't want to be caught with the gunpowder. Yeah, I guess I'll take some cannonballs as well. Follow suit.
All right. So as you reach down, wrapping arms around and picking up some cannonballs, I'm just curious here for a moment. Because of course, Devaxian's not having any trouble with that. You're thinking, with this much strength, God, I could shot put a few of these things and just send them. I could have been a legend, but not in this world. And Nestri as well might be grunting slightly while she's picking up a full box of 6, but it's Phoenix, unfortunately with the lower strength, who has to do that waddle walk, you know, when the legs are a bit spread wide. Doing the best they can to make it up them stairs, just traveling along with the other two. But since you're carrying materials, you find yourselves bopping in on the next floor, and I'm just bringing you all up to the top stairs for the same reason Dean mentioned, furthest away from the gunpowder. We'll bring you up to here as you're making it to the next level without any major trouble, carrying the metal balls as you go. The question is, where are you going with them?
Well, it looks like there's no crew over at this one. So maybe there, just like make ourselves look busy. Or I guess we wouldn't take all 6 cannonballs, well, all the crates of cannonballs to the one cannon, I suppose.
And there's also multiple floors after all as well. All 3 floors of this mighty vessel are loaded with cannons.
Maybe glancing around, a quick scan for Deacon. Maybe we should all head to the same floor, just so that we're together.
I mean, I'd make you roll a perception check, but you know he's not on this floor.
It's also the one pirate probably with just the full face helm.
Oh goodness.
I shall not be taking this off, thank you very much.
We did disguise him, but if you know, Deacon,
Yeah.
as mentioned, if Jameson uses Or, oh god, goodness. Jameson, you know
Ugh.
if Deacon uses your character's ability for the surge, the nanobot surge. If you use that, you risk burning the makeup off, right?
Oh, I remember.
Fortunately, though, it's been pretty good on rolls, so... You've managed to squeak by with a 12 earlier on a basic one, thankfully, and now you've just kicked ass on the next one, so you've had no trouble. Now, is the entirety of the team planning on going up to the next floor in search of your ally?
Yeah, I think probably I would.
The question is,
I,
split up or try to get back all together?
The question is, which is the option looks the least amount suspicious?
Well, while your characters are standing about wondering, Phoenix is going to get bumped into from behind by someone else carrying up a 6-stack of balls, who gives you a glare and just says, "Look, if you can't lift it, short stuff, get out the way," and they keep moving beyond that. Now, with a height of about 5 foot for your character, they can get away with the comment, you know.
They,
Very
they'd
busy
probably-
area.
We'd probably load the upper deck first, because it would take the longest to move stuff there. But we should be okay as long as we're just carrying stuff.
Well, unless anyone has any other plans, I can shift you all over to the next layer.
Sure.
So let me pop you all up the next set of steps, which would lead you up to a point where clearly you can see Deacon standing at his cannon, probably having to take time to clean it, make sure it's ready, that sort of stuff. None of you would notice that he sabotaged it, of course. That would take some active investigation, and they don't really have a reason, so, you know, he's just standing there near a cannon as you're all making it up to the next level.
Do all these the gun crews here, are they all without shot?
Half
Like
and half.
the
They're,
half
some
and
are
half.
being loaded, some are being actively taken to. And you'd also notice the vaccine will be pushed out the way as another person walks up past you saying, "Come on, man, get with it." As they're carrying a barrel of gunpowder.
Oh boy. So the vaccine will just drop off his cannonballs at the nearest gun without any.
Alright. And that's pretty much all of them up on this floor. You can drop it right where you
Yep.
stand as you're going. And while you're doing that at this specific instance, how about Nestri and Phoenix? What are you two up to?
Panicking.
Nestri watching Devaxian set them down, like, okay. How about Phoenix?
Yeah, I'll go set mine at a cannon.
Alright. Well, as you are setting them down, as Phoenix sets their stack down and Devaxian is setting their stack and Nestri's looking between them, Nestri's paranoia may pay off as heavy footsteps come from the steps behind you. And not half a moment later, you hear a familiar voice echoing out. A casual, "You lot! Up deck now," as he points towards Devaxian, Nestri, and Phoenix, and then hitches a thumb towards the stairs behind himself.
The vaccine will give a grunt of acknowledgement. It take time adjust in his box and then try and turn around without making eye contact to the stairs.
Keep the head down.
With the box dropped, and as you stand and try to move towards those stairs, you find a firm hand coming to rest on your shoulder. As the captain stops you dead in your tracks and slowly turns their eyes towards your character, holding a firm glare as they do, but yet saying nothing. And as we can tell, there's this long, awkward pause between the two of them. As the vaccine is starting to sweat, probably at this point. Captain's gonna grip tighter on your character's shoulder, and they say, "What do you think you're doing?"
Going up deck, just like you said.
And he's gonna kick the box of cannonballs you just dropped and give you a slight shove backwards, adding in, "with the ammunition." Then makes a rude comment about your character's intelligence, but, you know, it's the way it goes.
Right you are then, Captain.
I mean, they're pirates. You know they're going to be rude to each other on intelligence, but I'm not the one to actually say those lines out loud. I don't feel that you should ever belittle someone's intelligence. But this pirate, oh, they're not very nice.
I'll find it's better to do what you're told quickly.
Looks back towards Phoenix as well, because you know, your character had the box they just set down.
Oh, I pick it up and go.
And how about Nestry, Jillian?
Yep, same. Just quietly complying.
And the captain is going to start walking across this deck while the three of you are making it for the stairs. Then they're going to point straight at Deacon as they do and say, "You." And then point towards another one. "You." And points at another one. "You, you, and you. Get your arses up deck. We need more people on the cannons up there." Before they clear the deck to the other set of stairs and make it upstairs. I will tip my hat to the yes captain right away. That was good response on your character, but as it seems, thankfully, you weren't being specifically pointed out. But you have been ordered to go up a deck and leave your booby-trapped cannon behind.
Oh boy.
I realised I was doing it in real life, but I didn't say it. But the vaccine was making a point of like screwing up his face, particularly around the eye patch. Just so it looks like he was suffering from some kind of disfigurement.
As the captain's walking by, they're gonna say to this pirate standing here directly across from the cannon, they're just gonna mutter, "Get some more vitamin C in the diet. I don't like the look of that last guy." Scurvy's a thing pirates must deal with after all, and this must be a well-placed captain, but for the four of you, we're gonna switch you up deck now. As you'd see, more pirates walking by, multitudes of them bringing barrels of gunpowder and various cannons, prepping as they do, shoving gunpowder in hard hand-fold clumps. So you notice it looks a little bit sticky to the eye, but they don't seem to have noticed. No, they're loading those cannons up heavy. As the large ship barrels its way across the water, staying relatively near the coast as much as it can for a ship of this size. It's not too long, of course, as you find yourselves looking outward, that you could see in the distance that same town. The captain walking forward. Now, of course, you can feel free to set your minis wherever you want for reloading cannons and, of course, being sat at one. Deacon, that has been ordered to sit on one, Jameson. So, you know, take your pick.
Deacon does his orders because he's not deceptive enough to make up a good lie.
That probably doesn't help, as you hear the footsteps beside yourself as the captain himself marches up on deck, a broad smile on his face. takes that moment to clasp another one of the pirates by the shoulders. They say, "My dear brother thought he could reform himself, take this town for his own, become their leader, too good for us. Well, I say we raze it to the ground in his dead memory, then take what we want from the ruins. What say ye, men?" And even though, only about half of them are actually men, it's a commonly used phrase and enough to get hands chucked in the air yelling, "Aye!" Because after all, pirates.
Deacon will also let out a good eye.
Oh, goodness. And as you're making your way there, the ship grows ever more ready. It's moments, if that at best, before they're in firing position on the town. So if any of you got any last things to happen before I reveal what goes down, well, now's your chance.
We had time to contaminate all of the gunpowder, right? Like none of it was usable?
At a 1/12 ratio, indeed. With those rolls and checks.
How far away are we from the town? Could we, in theory, swim to it from this distance? Just asking.
With some good checks. Close enough to fire cannons, far enough away to not have to worry about archers. But, close enough that you could swim there. A bad check repeatedly wouldn't end well. But close enough that you could definitely swim. You're not that far from the town, after all. You'd be like a beautiful ship coming in ready to rest at the harbor. Except with a nasty, nasty surprise. And it doesn't help. The captain has the ship drawing in ever closer. So you can sucker punch the lot of them.
I mean, this is a wild theory, but because I have a decent amount of stealth, I could try to swim to shore and give the town the heads up and say we think we've disabled the cannons, but that doesn't mean it's going to stop them from doing a ground assault.
How's your athletics?
I have a +1.
You would need a considerably faster means to get to shore than swimming. You're coming up deck as they're readying cannons at this point. The next step, they're going to flip them open, shove them out, and start firing. You'd make it about halfway across the water before those cannons started raining down.
Well, what you could do, is, when the ship's about or starts the attack, they won't know where it's coming from. You could get ready to loose a fire arrow or produce flame or something, so that they would be able to see where it's coming from.
The ship is presently beginning to turn now, bringing the side with Devaxian on it, facing towards the town.
The only thing I could think for Devaxian to do, is he is...
Ooh, sorry guys, I just found out I'm off on Monday and Tuesday. Sorry.
Alright. Good news is good news.
Well, I mean, it's good news with our daycare center, might be in trouble, but
definitely.
it's at least I have Monday and Tuesday off. But she says that she did say that the center, it shouldn't be affecting the center, so.
Well, if someone busts a water main in it, they're going to need to shut off electricity to the entire building.
Well, that's what she did say that. So at least for Monday and Tuesday we're closed. I assume we'll still be getting paid and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, congrats. Enjoy the time off. Kick up your heels.
Thanks. I might actually finish. Maybe I'll actually finish Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh, nice. No spoilers. That's my next one.
No, of course not. I started playing it and I didn't want it to be over, but then so I stopped when I was getting close to the end. But now it's now I'm not playing it, so I should just. Anyway,
Well,
sorry, I thought you guys might be curious about that
That's-
work situation.
that's awesome. I think you made Dean poop himself for a second with that scream, though.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say is the only thing. I don't think I have any items that can help, but the only thing I can think to try and do is to try and kind of psych out like maybe the gun crews around me, or
Well,
one of them, just by like telling some kind of like, maybe try to play on like this is if pirates are suspicious, like tell like some kind of weird haunting ghost story. Like, something along the lines of, they say that the cannons can like capture the screams of the people it kills. Wonder what sound it'll make when the if it hits a house full of children. Do we want that on the ship?
Part of me wants to say that'd be intimidation against pirates. You really want your soul damned with that sort of pain? Will you do
but
this?
it'll be saying it in a way that it's like he's talking to himself, but loud enough for the people around him to hear him.
Well, you can try an intimidation on that one. Because one of the things for intimidation is demoralizing others. You got to be trained in it, though. Wait, no, I think that's actually untrained. Yeah, intimidation doesn't have any specific things for training, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But that does take a full action to attempt. And you can see you've given the willies to the other people. You're like, gonna have to shoot that house with some kids, and he's gonna be like, probably make some widows today, and gonna be an orphanage. Oh god, am I gonna hit an orphanage with this cannonball? I don't want to hit an orphanage with this cannonball. I can't imagine I was from an orphanage. Man, this ain't gonna be. And the other people on either side are like, oh god, there's an orphanage in the town? Apparently the good pirates.
To Dean's point earlier about me sending off a warning arrow, I do have that special attack. I'm just trying to figure out if I haven't used it yet. But the like, it's supposed to make things like, it reveals hidden enemies. So it casts like, it's like a rain of sparks, basically, that's supposed to like reveal concealed targets. But if I shoot it straight up into the air, knowing that the arrow wouldn't reach shore, but I could still like cast that light up into the air, that could be a warning sign. But then it could also kick off initiative, because the pirates probably won't like it if I've done something like that, and I'm not sure I could do it sneakily.
Captain's like, we're sneaking up on them. We're going to fire these cannons. No one knows they're coming. And you're like, I'm going to shoot a flare. So yes, you are correct. You would definitely have a bad time.
Yeah, I could do that, though, as one of my things. Just a heads up. I could.
Maybe it would be like, if like you wait for the commotion of the because we're not going to be able to stop like the first firing of the cannons.
But how? Are they gonna fire the cannons though? Or I thought.
Well, there's a chance that some might fire and some might not. Like there could be pockets of dry powder, or there might have been like they might have had like an initial charge in them, and it's the reloads that are going to fire that are misfire. So it won't be like an exact 100% success rate, I would think, on the wet powder, because sometimes it will still fire.
Well, give me perception checks then while you're up on this level.
But like the warning sign could come into play when like the commotion of battle kicks off. Like it might be confusing enough to do something then.
Oh goodness.
Winning.
We got 2 15s on the board for perception checks. You wanted to roll them as well for the others. Nat 20. There's Dan. Pulls it off with a 20. Well, Phoenix would notice that a few of these cannons already have barrels of gunpowder near them. They may already have a few that were pre-prepped before you ever soaked them. And you've got the assessments that each character can basically get an action in. Dean's used his for a demoralizing shout, except, that's not quite what it's called. While the rest of you have still the moment to decide what you're going to do.
I am going to temporarily sabotage my cannon.
All right. If you want to give another craft check on that one. You're like, screw this cannon in particular, too. Map. I want to say you can't cut a rope. You're grabbing the rope, you're giving it a pull, you're trying your best to take it apart and break it down before the ship gets ready to fire, but doesn't look like you're successful in time. That mooring anchor, very well built. If your character wanted to find out who the smith was, you might actually give them a clap on the back before kicking them overboard. But you are unable to break the anchor with a 9.
Fair enough.
I mean, if there was a time this session to burn the 1, that's an okay time. Even the pirate, a little further, is looking at you like, that's not how those work. You gotta put this. No, you put the anchor here. Oh my God, you have a lot to learn. The one helpful pirate.
Make a fantastic point. I think I will use a hero point.
Oh, all right, hero point time. Well, as they're explaining that to you, you're like, yes, the pulley right here. Snap his tie. Right here, I see it. Haha, sabotaged flawlessly. Good time to break the hero point out. Well, anyone else got anything up their sleeves before these cannons start firing? All right. Well, the ship rights itself has one edge pointed out towards. As the pirate raises his hands up, the former mayor of this town, or as he was saying his brother was, decided to become permanently mayor? There seems to be some underlying plot between the brothers at that point where one sabotaged out the other, but I might only be given this little bit of exposition so you know what was going on in the background for those of you curious a little bit. But you took a stealthy backwards approach, so the little pieces of this might yet remain hidden as he brings the arm down and says, "Fire all cannons." You hear fuses being lit. Cannons adjusting, your hands coming into ears, and nothing. Small little plops here and there at best. Fuses burning out as gunpowder that has been disabled on all the other floors appear to be given trouble, not firing. And, as you'd be noticing, the two beside Devaxian, the one to the south would even have tears in their eyes as they're holding and shaking as their arms around their cannon, and they just say, "Yeah, I can't do it. This could be an orphanage. I can't do it." As it appears your demoralization of these soldiers have stopped the pirates dead in their tracks. However, the captain grabs this one by their shoulder, lurches them to the side, and says, "You gotta do it myself." Because we all want to quote Thanos at least once. Walks up with torch in hand, grabs the cannon, adjusts it, mutters something under their breath. Perception checks, please. Phoenix already pulled a 20. They can't get that luck a second time.
Well, you know what? I'll try again then.
Yeah, 19's pretty good. I don't know. I'm tempted to spend a hero point because I feel like we're getting too close to the end.
Oh, yes.
Same here. I think I'll re-roll.
Because we only ever start with one. Come on.
Oh my. The dice suddenly jumping up. I like how it removes your previous roll when you hero roll. Oh gosh, there's a 20.
Yes!
You hear the muttering of his voice. "I will have that goddamn gem. As he aims the cannon and brings his torch down, the fuse lit. The cannon flies through the air as one shot successfully fires off of this vessel. After all, you all sabotaged. You've made a big difference. You saved the day for this town. But as that cannonball lurches through the air, Deacon the character, God darn, I'm off today at the end of the day. You all know what I mean. Deacon Jameson's character would sense a horrible lurch in your stomach. That sort of dizzy feeling you get when you've run around too much and your breath starts to catch in your throat. As that cannonball flies through the air, nothing but pain and worry. As it ruins all of the party's hard work. That one cannonball smashes through the beautiful windmill that you had restored, or at least set for restoration only just recently, tearing through and shattering down the middle of it. But as it does, you see what looks like a crack appearing in midair. The very fabric of the air itself, it seems, torn asunder from that one cannonball strike, as you feel a pulse wave outwards from it repeatedly before it starts to grow, tearing across the very sky. In the middle of the town, as it seems to start to create a vortex. Wind rushing against it, twisting and churning. As the ocean seems to follow route, as the ship starts to rock side to side, and you hear the captain say a soft, "Uh-oh." It does appear that shot ruptured the very crystal they were trying to obtain. But why? Why would they ever do such a thing? Well, bad shot first off, but worse for that town. Thunderclouds beginning to roll in overhead. Storms brewing in mere moments. And that crack growing ever wider. The town beginning to shudder underneath it. Like a black hole being ripped above it. You can see the ground trembling, buildings shaking, being torn and lifted. And from that town, like rats in a plague, everyone is now running. Of course, you might have bigger problems of your own at the present moment. Such a magical anomaly suddenly bursting forth in front of you has caused the waves to twist and turn and churn, and twist and turn they do, as the boat begins to spin against them. You've got bigger problems facing you next week, as it looks like the water is shifting into a cyclone. But I think that's a pretty good spot to pause for this week. Doom and gloom flowing through the air, and the whole town under the effects of a hellish, magically destructive effect.
And Deacon is just standing there screaming internally.
Unfortunately for those poor pirates, their hubris seems to have backfired. You thought you were going to be defending a town from pirates? Well, at this point, one little note I will leave on before I stop the recording. With the ship suddenly spinning out of control, being pulled in by the waters and waves, you can see pirates falling off this vessel. As it twists and turns beneath their feet, rocks back and forth, and cuts their balance out. Many of them can't hold on. Many of them are going, and probably a few of them down below the decks are getting sloshed about, and the rest of you, well, you know there's going to be some checks to see whether or not you're even going to fall in this situation. But you're on an out-of-control vessel, and there's a town that now desperately needs your help, if you want to give it to them. After all, they didn't give you much trust to begin with. Which also makes me wonder, where's John's character in all of this?